What's up, my dear boys and girls, it's your Ranger Boy here, and welcome to, it's not really a typical review per se, but more of an impressions video of Pokemon Movie 21, The Power of Us, also known as Everyone's Story in Japan. And for the guys who don't know, yes, this movie came out on the 27th of November, but because of license/region issues, I was not able to watch the movie in theaters and only recently got access to it. But I finally have watched it, and I can say this, I really liked it. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the best Pokemon movie ever, but I overall enjoyed this movie a lot. I will try to avoid major spoilers because, just like me, a lot of you guys also weren't able to watch the movie thanks to region issues, but sadly by the time I will talk about the story, there will be some spoilers, which in my opinion shouldn't really ruin your enjoyment of the film. But with that being said, grab some popcorn, grab some cookies, and let's do this. The first thing I want to talk about is something that a lot of people were excited about without even watching the movie: the animation, and especially the new art style of the movie. I really love the animation of this movie and how the characters are moving so smoothly, but I honestly didn't expect anything less since this time OLM collaborated with VIDOE Studio, the guys who animated Attack on Titan. I also really like the 3D camera aspect of the movie, which we haven't seen since the XY anime and which many people are desperate for in Sun and Moon. The art style in my opinion is a real eye-catcher as well, which you can especially see during quiet and relaxed moments, but also during climax moments. The one thing we have to talk about in regards of art style is of course our hero Ash, who just looks so different thanks to the way he's been designed. On the one hand, he looks so much younger than XY Ash / Movie 20 Ash, but on the other hand, he still looks great. I mean, the community turned Ash into a cute girl, so that's already proof how popular this new design is. But he can actually express badass / serious moments, unlike Sun and Moon Ash, who thanks to his design sometimes just can't pull off that badass vibe. Next thing I want to talk about is the characters. I mentioned in one of my past Movie 21 discussion videos that what I really liked about this group is the diversity in age. From young kid till older generation, everyone is somewhat represented. All in all, I really like the group. What The Power of Us also did great is that they actually were able to properly tell a story for each and every character, which in the end would lead to major development. Strange that a movie which is about 1.5 hours long can do that, but 100 episodes of Sun and Moon can't? In my opinion, that's kinda weird. My favorite members of the group besides Ash are definitely Risa and Callahan. I really love Risa. Oh my god, she's so adorable. And not only because her English voice is Haven Pashal, who's also Serena's English voice. Wink wink. But also because I just really like every aspect about her. That she started as someone who never experienced catching Pokemon, that her past was actually not really related to Pokemon at all, but instead she was a very talented athlete. But thanks to an accident, she was mentally not able to perform like an athlete anymore. Interaction wise, I enjoyed her dialogue with Ash a lot. PS, it kinda helps that Risa really sounds like Serena, but what I especially love is her interactions and relationship display with her new partner Eevee and how it helps her out throughout the story. Even though I love Risa, Callahan has to be my favorite character throughout the entirety of the movie. Everything about him was just so awesome and just heartwarming. He's basically a fraud, but on the inside he knows that he is a fraud, and he also knows that sooner or later it will get him into some major trouble. And the way the movie showed and solved this conflict is absolutely wonderful. I won't spoil his story and his development because I want you guys to see that for yourself. And for the guys who watched it, did you like it as much as I did? So we had one great character in Risa and one fantastic character in Callahan. But what about the rest? Let's talk about Tauren. I really like his design with his long green hair, which kind of reminds me of N, and his whole characterization of this shy guy who can't really speak in public really was relatable and especially reminded me of myself, because I was also a very shy person and couldn't talk in front of crowds until I was able to break through my shell. PS, all thanks to you guys. So, thank you. The only critique I have against Tauren is that his development was a little bit too cliche and too obvious. Then we have old lady Harriet and her hatred for Pokemon, but I really liked how they have let her open up more towards Pokemon during the movie, in a really unique way if I might add. The problem I had with her was just, I wish there was more time within the movie to go a little bit deeper into her past drama instead of just one flashback. And the whole lady hating Pokemon and isolating herself theme was okay, but all in all, not really that outstanding. Last but not least, Margot. She's okay, don't get me wrong, she's a good character, but my biggest issue with her is that her whole story and progress is so deeply tied with Zeraora. I don't really know if I would actually like her if it wasn't for the connection to the mythical Pokemon, but her relationship to Zeraora makes her special and therefore an important member. And of course we have Zeraora himself. Note, I haven't watched Sun and Moon episode 100 with Zeraora yet, so I don't really know how similar this version of Zeraora is compared to anime Zeraora, but from what I've seen so far, I really like him, his role, and his story in the movie. He definitely was better than Mars Shadow, that's for sure, but just like Torin, his story was also too obvious, if not downright cliche. But like I said in the beginning, I overall like every character of the movie, and I would have loved to see this group traveling together. And the last aspect of the movie I want to talk about is the story. How was the story? If you want to avoid potential spoilers, then click on this time mark right here, where I will sum up the video and give it my final score. But it's kinda a mixed bag for me. At first I was really confused about this movie because you don't really know what the story is actually about. It begins with everyone visiting Fula City for the Wind Festival, but what is the main point of going there? If you have a closer look at the movie, you will realize that you have no idea about the story. But then I realized that this movie is not really driven by the plot, but it's more driven by its characters and their motivation, which in my opinion is a really unique concept. What I really love and appreciate about this movie is that it actually tries to develop its characters and give them some time to shine. Sun and Moon couldn't do that properly, and even movie 20 treated Soji and Makoto poorly, with no significance in the movie. And that's another point I like about movie 21. It gave every character a significant role, which has impact on the story. And the last positive thing about this movie is how every character's interaction to another actually made sense and was deeply tied to the plot. Let me explain. Without the interaction between Callahan and Torin, Callahan would have never been able to self-reflect on himself and realize that he has to be a role model for his niece Callie without any tricks and lies. And without the help of Torin, he would also have never met his future partner. Same goes for Harriet, who without Torin's accident would probably still isolate herself from loving Pokemon. If it wasn't for Callahan's lie of having witnessed a rare Pokemon, Margot would never have tried to protect Zeraora in the way she did, and therefore would have never found out about the truth in regards to Zeraora. But the obvious focal point of important interactions is of course Ash. Without Ash's influence, Risa, first of all, would have never been able to catch Eevee, and secondly, without both Ash and Eevee, she would have never been able to overcome her mental barrier and probably would always look back at her past failures as an athlete. Torin also profited from Ash's help, because thanks to his speech about overcoming every problem with the help of your Pokemon, he still would be the nervous and self-doubting guy he was. Okay, before I will dive into my overall score, let's talk about some problems I had with the movie. First, Lugia was barely in the movie. I know, you can see it as a positive, since that also means that they didn't really copy-paste the same formula of Pokemon 2000. But since Lugia was so heavily advertised, you would expect so much more from the legendary Pokemon in regards of the plot, like Ho-Oh in the I Choose You movie. So for someone who expected some Lugia action, he or she will be really disappointed. Secondly, like always, Team Rocket was not really that important. Granted, they had more significant influence compared to movie 20, and they kinda helped to solve the whole chaos, aka the giant dark smoke, but at the end of the day, you just couldn't take them seriously. And since we're on the topic of giant dark smoke, let's talk about that. The way it was caused, in my opinion, didn't make much sense. This smoke was created by Torin for research purposes, since it had the same effect as the Pokemon ability Effect Spore. But then it was stolen by Team Rocket and later on broke and caused all that smoke. But how can something coming from this little bottle cause a smoke which envelops the entirety of the city? Okay, if it was several bottles or maybe a whole tank full of those effect spores, then I would have been fine with the actual outcome. But from just one bottle? Because of that rather irritating plot device, this progression in the story felt very unnatural. Another rather unnatural, if not downright forced moment, in my opinion, was during the climax with Zeraora, who, after launching his final attack, he nearly hit the Pokemon of the forest, even though the attack wasn't intended for them. But the attack then just suddenly and without any reason just changed direction so that it's going to hit them. That was really confusing, and I still can't figure out why they did that. So now that we went through the pros and cons of the story, my final score for Pokemon Movie 21, The Power of Us, aka Everyone's Story, is a 8 out of 10. And this score perfectly describes how much I enjoyed this movie. It has some issues, but the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. I can wholeheartedly recommend this movie, especially for the people who want something different compared to Sun and Moon. And this is something different. And in my opinion, just a really good movie. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this little sort of review and sort of impressions video. I don't know, I'm not really sure about that. But what I will always be sure about is that we will see each other in the comments down below. Bye guys!